Yo, what's going on, people? I ain't gonna hold y'all too long, you heard? So I may cuss, but I don't curse. Let's get that situated first. Bars because I'm nice and all that, you heard? And oh, that's just gonna have to sit there and crackle for a bit. So yo, I hope everybody is doing well and all of that. This video is about Mars, and yeah, I just felt like we could use some more intel on that planet around this channel at this time, especially. This is gonna sound a bit cliche at the same time too. And the reason why I say that is because I'm pretty sure that y'all have seen or heard videos that pertain to what you desire desires you as well, right? Pretty sure y'all have heard that before, and I've seen videos like that myself, so I know y'all have. And just the title sounds cliche, but the process of it really isn't. Like, it's really a thing. And I just felt like I wanted to put my spin on it. You know what I'm saying? Astrologically, I wanted to tell y'all what I sense that saying means to me. So, of course, the planet Mars rules over desire, so we're going to use Mars as a construct to understand how that can be. How can it be that what you desire desires you? Well, part of it comes from daydreaming, and I'm going to use the relay race analogy a few times during this discussion because it has importance. I've used it sometimes in videos before, or when I talk about how neighboring signs have things that complement each other, and that's why they are actually neighbors, because they have to hand off something from their sign to the next sign in order to carry the race on through, right? If we look at the zodiac wheel, we can see how it's a continuous cycle, right? Life's in cycles, man. It goes in cycles. I'm trying to tell you. So, with that being said, right, I've also learned in business and school that there's two types of structures. There's hierarchical structure and there's parallel structure. Now, you don't hear about parallel structure anywhere in media or even in popular scholastic discussions. They don't mention that at all, because it's kind of like, what are you doing? It's kind of like, are you crazy? Don't say that. Don't say that in here. You know what I mean? Because no one wants to go against the caste system or the hierarchical structure. Not no one, but I'm just saying as far as popular culture goes. You know what I mean? Of course, we got your rebels out there. But if we're looking at this whole process for the relay race and stuff like that, and when it comes to attracting what it is that you desire and what you desire desires you, these things come into play. They do come into play because we got to look at it from a hierarchical structure sometimes. Because if we're looking at Mars being exalted in the sign of Capricorn, well, at least I say we should look at Mars being exalted in the sign of Capricorn to understand this process. Mars is exalted in the sign of Capricorn because of the action that it takes, right? But at the same time, if you desire something and it desires you, allegedly, right, then that means it must have came in the frame of a thought somehow as well. And it could have, well, a lot of the times anyway, especially when it comes to people, right, that we're attracted to, or that people that we desire. And even events or interactions, experiences that we desire, they usually entail other people, right? So when it comes to that, there's like a form of daydreaming that occurs before that, right or wrong. Think about it. So when you think about taking action and you're thinking about daydreaming, those are two completely different things. However, we got the sign Pisces before, which precedes the sign Aries, right? So you got the daydreaming sign right before the taking action sign. And not for nothing, this is what's very interesting and kind of odd about this pairing as well, right? This relay race pairing is that Pisces rules the feet and Aries rules the head. So the daydreaming, which you would think takes place in the head, right, is actually ruled by the feet. And the sign that takes action is actually ruled by the head. Go figure, right? If we don't got enough things going on out here. So when you take this into consideration, you start to understand more of how these signs actually complement each other when it comes to this lesson. So you get the daydreaming about what it is that you desire and what desire desires you. Proof of what you desire desires you comes in the forms of dreaming. And I mean actual, literal dreaming. It could come in the form of daydreaming too, depending on how believable your daydream is. Pisces also rules over belief. So let's say you desire something, you desire someone, you desire an event, you desire an experience with them. Let's say you just daydream about it. You got to have full belief behind that daydream that it can actually happen. All right? Because there is a high potential that that person is actually sharing that same sentiment. Now, I'm not telling everybody out there to listen to this video to concretely go utilize all of your actions on your daydreams, because if they happen to happen in the way that you act on it and it does not reciprocate, then this can be terrible, right? This could be disastrous. You can be rejected, and it could be the worst thing, or one of the worst things that happens to you. Not the worst thing, but it could be one of the worst things that happens to you, right? So yes, there is a level of Venus, there is a level of love, there is a level of balance, harmony, and reciprocation that needs to happen to make this desire work. But these are the mental cues, these are the social cues that you should be able to pick up on as well once that desire is expressed in some sort of way, even if it's subtle. So I guess that's a precaution, right? That's a warning for everyone watching this. But the daydream, have some belief behind it, right? If it forms into an actual dream where you go to sleep and you have a dream and you're there in the 5D with this person and you're doing your thing, y'all are doing your thing. It could be frolicking in the woods. You know what I mean? Yeah, I know I like to frolic in the woods. I always talk about frolic in the woods. Let's say y'all doing that, right? Then there's I would say a higher potential that this can actually happen in the 3D because it actually happened in the 5D. You understand what I'm saying? Somewhere in some dimension, in some type of lifetime, y'all have actually experienced that. But again, this comes in the form of daydreaming, right? When you talk about Mars, you talk about action, you talk about embodying your actual body, your vessel, right? This is Mars. This is it right here. You look at yourself, you feel your body parts, you know this is you. That's Mars. So now what you desire is to actually be face to face with that individual, or to be present in that, wherever that geographic location is in the world, to be present at that event in the world when the time comes, whatever the case may be. So the question then becomes, how do you actualize, right? Or how other people say, well, how do you manifest this? How do you manifest this? It comes in the way of bouncing around the sign Capricorn like Mars gets exalted in. Because you could squander Mars energy by doing frivolous activities or doing things that don't benefit you. Yada, yada, yada. I don't want to stretch it. You know what I'm saying, right? Ask any astrologer, when you misuse Mars energy, which is really just your energy to take action, when you misplace it, it detracts from your achievements. It detracts from you excelling and becoming exalted in the sign of Capricorn, which is merely the process of climbing. All right. When you think Capricorn is the process of climbing to the pinnacle, to the epitome, to the heights of what it is that you can achieve in whatever industry, whatever sector of your life it can possibly be. Right. So you may say, well, why does that count in relationships? How does that? Well, some relationships are business. Some relationships are industrious. A lot of relationships begin inside of industries or workplaces, right or wrong. You know, correct me if I'm wrong. Just get in the comments section. You know what I'm saying? So think about that. But not only that, a process nonetheless is Capricornian, to where you have to take methodical steps in order to reach a particular point. And then it's like you get brownie points for it if you want to. That's probably not, I don't even like that term. I don't know why I use that, but you get what I'm saying, right? It's like any game you play, you get rewards and coins and chips and stuff like that because you've reached a certain level. That's how Mars is rewarded on Earth, you know, because Mars could be doing a whole lot of other stuff like violence and cutting and scratching and scrapes and busting their kneecaps open and jumping off of roofs to see, you know, bungee jumping and stuff like that, right? However, if you utilize that energy to be more hands-on and preoccupy yourself with things that are productive, that reward you, the individual, not reward, it could reward others, but when you put yourself first and say, okay, y'all are going to pay me how much to do this? I'll do it, you know? And then, yeah, of course you're doing something for them, but they're paying you for it. You know what I'm saying? So that's what I mean. You're going to help someone else, but you're putting yourself first. This is the type of energy that Mars gets exalted for. So when it comes to relationships, with the things that you desire and that they desire you as well, you got to look at it like this. Your desire is expecting you to show up like how they desire you. You understand what I'm saying? So if you're at a level, and I don't want anyone to feel bad about themselves, right, from hearing this, because again, this could trigger you, right? This is not my point. This is actually something that should encourage you. Because for some of you who are listening, you feel like you're not at that point right now of where you can actually actualize your desire, what you've daydreamed about. Right now, in this very moment, this should be inspiration to let you know, listen, your desire still desires you. It just desires you to show up in a way that is at this level. You, even if you don't know it right now, desire yourself to show up at the same exact level. I want to call it frequency instead of levels. The reason why I'm using levels is because I know it explains the hierarchical structure, even the parallel structures, very distinctively. So that's why I'm using the word levels. But really what I'm saying is frequency. You want to show up at a frequency that the desire matches, that the desire was at when you either daydreamed it or you had an actual dream about it. You understand what I'm saying? And some of these dreams, they happen at the desire, at the frequency that you was already at, which is cool, right? But you might tell yourself, okay, that was a small dose, right? I desire more now. Some of us take those small doses and say, okay, I desire more now. So you start daydreaming on top of the actual dream because you got a taste of what it would be like. You know what I'm saying? Pause. It's crazy. But you understand what I'm saying, right? So our desire is expecting us to show up at a certain frequency so that the experience becomes optimal, or so that the experience is optimal. You're only doing yourselves a favor. You first, the others that are included, if there are others, and the experience in general, in the whole, is just all being in favor when you view it from this perception. Now, where the relay race comes in and the structures come in, it's like this. With Capricorn structure, and I've said this in some of my videos, especially ones where I emphasize business, the Capricorn energy likes to cut the fat. So this can be disgruntling to employees in the industry and the business. I'm going to explain this in a business way so that you understand how this pertains to relationships as well. But the business part can give you clarity, right? So I say this often. When a company does well, they reap in a lot of revenue. What they'll do, especially American companies, I'm speaking for, this is what I definitely know about America. They start to hire more people. The budgets come in, the budgets get bigger, they hire more people. Next thing you know, Facebook is filled with all of these ping pong tables and vending machines and great people that get paid $150,000 a year and up, right? And then all of a sudden, one day you get the bad news and it goes all over crazy in the media and the press that Mark is letting go, however many employees. What is it, 10,000 or something? I'm sorry to drag y'all right now, but the pointer lands on y'all. You know what I'm saying? I don't usually do this, but when I got to. You know what I'm saying? So Mark says, okay, I'm letting go this amount of people. And then it's just like, really? How could you do that? You're a U.S. company, a technocrat that is a billionaire and this, that, and the third. And makes great for news, right? But it's very sad for the individuals that are involved that get let go of, right? How could this happen? You told me by email. You didn't even give me a week. You told me over the weekend. So a person's rug gets swept right from under their feet, Pisces, gets swept from under their feet, and now their dream to an extent is done, right? No more daydreaming for them, no more desiring for them. They might have had desires of what they was going to do with their next check type stuff, right? So in order for the industry, for the company to stay on top, right? To stay on top of the hill, on top of the pinnacle, at the epitome, at the height of their business, they had to make those cuts. Now I know some people will say They could have made cuts elsewhere. The same way that they talk about government when they make budget cuts. Oh, you could have cut that. You could have cut that instead of cutting that. Decision has to be made. And I tell people this all the time. When businesses are going to make cuts, the first people to go are the personnel. It's sad. It truly is. It's just the way that it goes. I don't know why it goes that way for them personally, because I'm not that person. But I can just tell you, in the business circles, they'll all tell you the same thing. Personnel is going first. They're on the chopping block first. Unless you're like Costco. Shout out to Costco. I just had to throw in a little shot in there, right? Sometimes I could just be, but I just like great companies that got great stuff, like stuff that qualities that stick out amongst everyone else. It's just stuff like that I gotta mention sometimes. Give them their flowers, right? So, where was I? Structures, hierarchical structures. So you see, that's how they stay at the top, right? The same thing happens with your desires. Let's say you desire a person, they potentially desire you too. You got 10 other suitors that desire you. You may desire about 4 of them, and who knows the exact frequency of the levels of desire. What you do know is that the level of desire for that particular one is higher. Bars. Fucking nice, and we know that already though, right? The desire and the higher, I'm just killing it right now, but okay. So you do know that inside your heart, it's like something that you can feel inside your bones. You know what I'm saying? That the desire is higher. I'm dragging it now because I like how that sounds for that particular person, right? So what happens is this structure interplay starts to happen. Whether you want it to happen or not, it's just the way of the process. It's just the way of the cycle. It's the way that things happen, because we have to take what we encapsulate in the subconscious mind and actualize it in the conscious mind. We have to take what happens in the subconscious mind and bring it into fruition in the 3D. So it's like from 5D to 3D. And we use 4D, which is time, in order to do that. So what that means is that everything can't happen at once. All of these frequencies cannot exist at one time, right? So all of these frequencies and different desires that you have for others, others have for you, they can't exist at the same exact time in order for the experience to happen, especially the one that you desire the most. All right. And this is how sometimes, or this is when people, maybe self-sabotage or maybe just procrastinate on particular relationships and stuff like that. A lot of the times it can come from distractions, because it's just like, okay, I'm not at the frequency, and neither is my partner to be together in that experience that we desire. You still desire each other, and it still potentially can happen and will happen. It's just that other things happen in between. Like there's these other frequencies that come in between it before you reach that frequency, right? Which we call distractions. And sometimes we entertain them, sometimes we don't. Sometimes when we don't entertain distractions, right? And get in the comment section if you can even be honest about this. Sometimes when you don't entertain a distraction, you're like, yo, only reason I didn't do that is because that other person is really on my mind a bit more than this person is on my mind. And I feel like I've been giving this person a little bit too much attention lately, and it hasn't gotten me to the frequency that I feel when I desire this other person. So this is why you give them a break. Y'all ever been there before? It's just me. Y'all don't feel like confessing. Y'all don't, all right, it's cool. It's fine by me. But this is what I mean about frequencies. And this doesn't mean that I wouldn't say that this doesn't mean that you love any less, or that you don't love the people that are either distractions or you bump into along the way, right? It's just that you desire something and someone perhaps more. And it just is what it is. Desire is desire. Fire and desire. You know what I'm saying? Type shit. It just is what it is, B. So, the same way that Mars excels in the Capricornian structure by cutting the fat, this is what is required for particular experiences and desires to happen. Bars, again, because I'm nice, required desire, because I'm nice, but we already know that. So, I want you to think of this, because it's the moves you make that is going to result in you experiencing the optimal experiences, again, whether they're events, whether they're with people, when it comes to your desire. What you desire does desire you. It's about what moves are you ready to make in order to reach that height, that frequency, right? What are you willing to do? And again, you're going to surprise yourself 9 times out of 10. You're going to be happy for yourself 9 times out of 10 because confidence is going to be added. Action is going to be taken behind confidence is going to be behind the action that you take, which makes you more sure of yourself. And when you show up more sure of yourself, your significant other, your lover, what you desire is more sure of you and more confident of you, and therefore simultaneously or consequently the connection for the frequencies being where they need to be, right? Now again, trigger warning. This may trigger some people. They may say, "Well, I was with that person. I was training them to be with the next chick," right? And vice versa. And this is what I mean about the desire frequencies and stuff like that. Though it's a hierarchical structure. It's like, yeah, and you can't. When that happens, it's like, are you really going to be mad? Anger and frustration is a Mars characteristic, right? Are you truly going to be mad, or are you going to get better at being yourself and raising your frequency so you can climb the epitome too? I look at the hierarchical structure or the height, the pinnacle, as something that's really about you. It's your hologram. You know what I'm saying? We involve other people, of course, because that makes the hologram cool, right? That makes it look like we're really, like, this life is real, like we're really doing something. You know what I'm saying? We get to interact with others. But it's really your hologram. You're just really becoming the highest version of yourself, the optimal version of yourself, So you got to think about the sacrifices that significant other or that lover has made in the process of while their mate was being distracted by other people, and vice versa. Your mate is out there being distracted by other people too, or should I say, the one you desire most in frequency is out there being desired by other people too. Don't get it twisted. You know what I'm saying? You may not be able to see it. Maybe you can feel it. Maybe you can't feel it. But it happens, right? So you got to think about, or other people who, let's say, didn't win the race, because we're talking about relay races and Mars and action and stuff like that. I'm going to just throw this in there. You know what I mean? Instead of being angry and frustrated about that, they should ponder on that and consider that. Well, how much sacrifices did they make? Or how many times did they interject into the person's life to distract them from what it was that they was doing to reach a frequency, right? How often was it? And that's why sometimes when you be in relationships, right, or promising potential relationships rather, yeah, they're relationships you just don't know, and you be like, oh, what are we? You don't really know yet because you're still working on frequencies. You're still tweaking frequencies, right? And you get to that point, and then, you feel like, or some people feel like, I don't want to bug them. I don't want to bother them. You understand what I'm saying? Because they see you, they perceive you in a way that others don't perceive you. Like, sure, they desire you too, but the other people are more impulsive and more driven by their emotions, by the passion, by the desire to actually do something than the other person who's not. So yeah, they take the risk. And some people are still in relationships to this day, some people are still in relationships to this day because one of them decided to take the risk based on that impulse, based on that emotion in the moment. And they got together with that person, while other people had eyes on that person. And they probably had eyes on each other, but one was reluctant to take the risk because they felt like it was more of a risk to actually take that action. Because why? Because they wanted to experience at a higher frequency, at a more optimal frequency. And again, they perceive you to be something that you don't possibly perceive yourself to be. You haven't climbed to that pinnacle yet. And your distractions have become so heavy that you're okay with it. you're okay with not reaching that pinnacle, or you're okay with it taking longer to reach that pinnacle. You may come to find out that it may take even longer by taking on your distractions to reach the pinnacle than it did by you waiting it out and waiting to raise your frequency to get involved with that other person. You understand what I'm saying? I hope this is making sense. It makes perfect sense to me. But this is what happens. This is how the process goes. This is how you utilize astrology and apply astrology to it to understand it better. And when I talk about the relay race with this, right? It's like, if you, this is why I always stress dreaming is so important. If you have a dream that is just like bomb and you're like, yo, I want to experience that in the 3D. Remember, Pisces is ruled by the feet. So I'm telling y'all, it already happened. It already did. However, if you want the Mars version, right? If you want to be able to be like, you want to feel that, you know, you want to be there in the 3D with these eyes open. You don't, you know what I mean? The third eye is cool to you, but you want more hands-on, then you gotta raise the awareness of these two eyes, keep them peeled, and be very attentive and look out for the social cues. And I mean all the social cues that involve career, involve your pathway, and involve the rising of your frequency in your life. Because to be aware is to be alive. That's when you are in the 3D, when you are awake. If you want to become materialistic and you want to manifest, yes, there's a big deal of being aware and using these two eyes in order to do so. Or you could just be cool with it happening in the 5D and be like, yeah, I'm a Pisces. I dreamed it. It happened. It already happened. You know what I'm saying? I know what we are. I don't even got to question that in the 3D. Or you could say, you know what? I'm a challenge, right? Mars, Aries, challenge, characteristic. I'm going to challenge myself. I want to prove to myself that that's really real, right? So I'm just going to put it in my head, right? Aries rules the head. It rules over the eyes and the ears. I'm going to be attentive. I'm going to be watchful, and I'm going to listen. And then I'm going to take action to make the necessary moves to reach that frequency, to embody that experience with that event or with that particular person. That's the relay race. That's passing the baton from Pisces to Aries to make that happen. You know what I'm saying? Because look, it's like this. In the world of Pisces, right? Or should I say, in the relay race from Pisces to Aries, mass is restricted by time. Waveform is not. So I tell people this sometimes too when they're talking about this person's going out of space and going to this planet and they came back round trip in a rover and this, that, and the third. I'm like, yo, listen. Here's my version of it. I use my body to time travel. I go from here to there, A to Z, you name it. I've been to plenty of places and I've used my body. Each time I ain't used no space shuttle or nothing else to get there. I used my body. And what I realized is that this body, this vehicle, is trapped in time. But this mind, the subconscious mind, the Pisces energy, the third eye is not. I am not limited to this time in the 3D. And it's still cool. Some people, when I see them or I hear them speak about time videos, and they're like, time is an illusion and time is what is hindering man and doing this and the third. Time is a tool. It can be used for marvelous things, you know? But I can tell you this and apply it, how it applies to this discussion most, is that it's a tool so that everything doesn't happen at once. All your desires and what's desiring you, imagine if they all happened at once. So for those of you who do astral project and you do have these 5D moments, right? You see how fluid it is. You see how you could go from one dream and get thrown into the next dream, then to the next dream, and then you only slept for an hour, but you had 4 dreams. And you're like, yo, that's crazy. I've been here, I was there. Now imagine that was able to happen in the 3D realm. That hints that what you desire desires you, and that they will all be happening simultaneously. Imagine that in the same room at the same time. Overwhelming, right? You can imagine a lot of cat fights or something like that. You know what I'm saying? Or just, you shouldn't be here right now type shit. Considering. I said trigger warning enough, right? But I'm just saying. It doesn't happen that way in the 3D because it is kind of like a challenge. It is a game. It is a race of some sort. You understand what I'm saying? So I'm just saying, y'all, you could treat it as such. You don't have to be confused by this anymore. You can take this video, you could pick it apart, and you could break it down. Look, when I say waveform is not restricted to time, I mean laying back, either meditating or dreaming. All right? So when they did that double slit experiment, that was a representation of time travel and how we utilize the human anatomy to travel through time, to travel through space. I don't know about all of these shuttles and stuff. I'm not talking about that. That's not my thing. When it comes to this body, when it comes to this vessel, I can tell you all about that. So that's waveform, wave, Pisces. When you get in the subconscious mind and you get beyond the physical limitations of Earth in the 3D, that's when you collapse into waveform. That's when you can achieve and experience whatever it is that you choose to create, whatever is created in the 5D. You understand what I'm saying? So I'm not going to drag this out anymore. I just wanted to really put this out there for those who can benefit. Just for everyone who takes a look at this video. That's, it's not for no selected bunch. You know what I'm saying? I just feel like it's a piece of information that should be out there. This could really help out a lot. Trust me when I tell you. I don't know when it's going to actually help you the most, but hopefully when you do see it, it can start. So until next time, I'm out.